thought is the seed for action, seed for attitude, for awareness, for drishti. So I must create every thought, pure thought, elevated thought, peaceful thought, loveful thought, but also thought create vibrations. Vibrations are always very powerful. As soon as you touch a thought, it reaches the person you are thinking, and that soul feels the vibrations. At Confluence-Aged, I want very beautiful relationships with everyone. Baba mentions about good wishes, but every thought I create for anyone should be a pure thought. To start with the self, I am a pure soul, a peaceful soul, loveful soul, and everyone else, all the souls eternally are pure, peaceful, and loveful. So, my sharing of drishti with everyone is full of pure feelings, peaceful vibrations. So, I create a very loveful relationship with all the souls. We keep taking drishti from Baba and remain in your eternal form and connect with others, all the souls in the eternal form.
Om Shanti. Welcome everyone. Welcome to series Confluence-Aged Brahmin, a life of contentment and blessings. Today is day 10. आए अनुभव करे आत्मदर्शन करे अपने ब्राह्मण स्वरूप का चिंतन करे आए अनुभव करे आत्मदर्शन करे अपने ब्राह्मण स्वरूप का चिंतन करे आए अनुभव करे चलते चलते काल चक्र जो पूरा हुआ चलते चलते काल चक्र जो पूरा हुआ संगम में अपनों से संगम हुआ भाग्य द्वारे खुले हमको भगवन मिले भाग्य द्वारे खुले हमको भगवन मिले लग के प्रभु के गले भाग्य लिखने लगे ब्रह्मवंशी ब्राह्मण ज्ञान गुंजन करे आए अनुभव करे आत्मदर्शन करे अपने ब्राह्मण स्वरूप का चिंतन करे आए अनुभव करे
Om Shanti. I'm sure you all are in the stage of contentment. When there is contentment within the self, there will always be contentment in all relationships. Because somewhere deep within, some kind of frustration creates irritation. And in that, the thoughts of conflict could arise. I like when Baba said yesterday, when there is contentment, you are a donor. That means deeply within first, it is necessary to have self-contentment instead of trying to fix the relationships. What is there suddenly? So understanding about relationship, now we know we have lockic relationships, that is connected with body of this world, lockic. Then we have alokik relationships, spiritual relationship, like we all are now. We don't know each other in a lockic way. Each one of us from different village, different city, different country. But we are together as Baba's family, and there is spiritual relationship, and we call it alokik relationship. Then there is third one, we call it parlokik relationship, means as souls. No? As souls, we are all brothers, children of one father. And then spiritual relationship as a Brahmin, Baba's family, and then there is Lokik relationship. Now, the whole understanding of relationship is that when we began in Golden Age, there was divine relationship. There was sharing of divinity, purity, love, respect, sharing. And then gradually, as the degrees of purity reduce, so relationships still remain same, good relationship. But towards the end of Silver Age, when body consciousness begins, it is like, darkness is absence of light. Darkness has no existence of its own, right? So same is, as our degrees of purity are reducing, then body consciousness emerge in the sense of, attraction towards body, greed, more desires. We can make whole list of what start happening in beginning of the copper age. But that's the beginning, not like now, Now is like extreme of everything. But that was beginning. So our interactions, because of body consciousness, creates some such karmic account which can be a bondage. So before was just relationship, no bondage. But then the bondage begins. Relationships were of complete happiness. No one hurt anyone, no one caused sorrow to anyone, no one harms anyone. But when karmic account changes from copper age, then sorrow begins. Actually, relationships are meant to be sharing happiness, supporting each other, giving comfort, right? Company. But then gradually, some kind of some words somebody will say will cause sorrow. It will hurt. So from copper age, sorrow begins. So these days, so many times Baba says in Murli, don't give sorrow to anyone. And we really intentionally don't give sorrow to anyone. But sometimes it does happen, mm, because you said something or you did something, another person took it in a wrong way, or maybe you did something which was not very pleasant. So all this, what sorrow, hurt, pain, deceiving, selfishness, revenge, envy, jealousy, everything gradually, all the branches of all the vices. Baba talks of lust, then there is anger, there is attachment, then there is greed, then there is ego. And just imagine they keep increasing until we reach to end of Iron Age. And then Baba comes in our life, and then we start understanding that I am a soul and my relationship with others is a soul. So that this relationship now is called spiritual relationship. Now, relationships actually at Confluence Age are spiritual, but it's still because of our past of two ages, Copper Age, Iron Age, our interactions and some karmic account of body consciousness. Even we all are Baba's children, we all have different personality, different opinions, and both ways there will be, and there is always possibility of disagreement or conflict, or once in a while cause it causes sorrow to us. So within the Brahmin family also, always remember when something happened that always remember must be some past karmic account. But then there are two ways. Either sometimes there is attachment or there is conflict. So in the beginning, I know during Brahma Baba's time, if some souls will have some difficulty, so Baba will say, okay, if you are not able to get along, you go and separate. And then Baba used to say in a very joyful way, it's okay, Baba will have extra center, another center. Baba never saw it in a way as very serious. Baba said, it's all right. This soul will go and open another center. If there is attachment, they don't go anywhere. Because Baba knows that, yes, this is normal. But some of us, how can there be conflict? How can there be this happening? All are yogi souls. But then again, as I said, there are different kinds of karmic accounts from past, right? And then what happens, like my experience in Brahmin life is basically, I would say I am not giving certificate to myself. I have to get from others that I am a kind of gentle soul, I'm kind soul, and I always likes to support and share karma yoga, everything. But then now I am understanding, maybe not at that time, according to the need of place, according to the need of service, there will be some other souls, other instruments with me, and they will have different qualification, different understanding, different way to think, different way in relationships, right? And it could be hard. I remember when I understood that if we are two souls and we are very different, hmm, but then if we see the specialities of each other and realize that if Baba has chosen someone to be instrument, and according to the drama, that soul had to be with me, even if there is big conflict. When I say it's because two different personalities. But to have this vision that Baba has chosen, and this one also Baba's instrument, and this one also is very, very important and necessary. Then one start tolerating, adjusting. But the important thing I notice that there is a lot of love, even if there is conflict, but there is a lot of love deep within. So then when you start realizing that love is there, that we are two different beings completely. And a time comes that that karmic accounts get settled. And then you can remain together with a lot of love, but also very detached because you have already experienced so much sorrow. So not only you feel victorious, but I had been living with some souls for 40 years. 40 years, just imagine. So what wouldn't have happened? But love, but variety of sanskars. We all have different sanskars. Then we start seeing that how beneficial it is for each one of us to be there in our own way. Because each one has a very good part to play, big part to play, but different. And when you reach to that stage where you start seeing that each one is playing a very, very unlimited role, big part, and you start feeling very good because, see, that is where you create the air souls, no? Air souls in the sense that they can take care of yagya. There's a lot of trust. They can take care of everything. There is honesty. There's love for Baba. So we don't look at sanskars. They are necessary as they are. And then, of course, each one of us being effort maker, transformation definitely is happening. Everyone is sincerely trying to be good nature, to have contentment. Everyone is making efforts. So we start appreciating each other. So in Brahmin life also, whenever few things happen, always remind yourself is from past karmic accounts, and through remembrance, mm, through good wishes, spiritual love, we are able to create then that spiritual relationship. I know we all have different experience, but I am sharing my experience that complete different thinking is possible. But you stay together because we are Baba's instrument. And sometimes you are in such a place where those instruments are important, they are needed. So, this understanding of spiritual relationship as Baba's children, as instruments, as importance of the place and service helps you to tolerate, to resolve, and finally reach to a relationship of spiritual love. And that is where a different kind of journey begins. But I like when Baba said that when there is contentment, you are a donor. And then we start seeing it will always happen that I will have some needs. Other one might have some other needs, right? So it becomes like a very well knit family where there is no conflict. Not only that, I mean, I cannot say much, but in New York, we are a big family in the sense of there was a time whatever came in Baba's Bandara, everyone will just bring the bills, bring all the money, everything, and you pay from here. It's all right. But then I said, you all need to learn, no? The value of money only comes when you know how to spend. So you all should have experience. So I said, no, everyone keeps their own bandara. But until now, anyone wants anything from any place, I can just call and say, I need this much for UN or I need this much. Yes, yes, why not? It's not how can I give my center, my money. So it took us years, no? But then what happened? This is how a proper kingdom gets created. When I say kingdom is not status wise, but we are able to hold big service. We have Peace Village, we have many, and most of the places are Baba's houses in the sense of it's Baba's property. We had one, then we have two, then three, Manhattan, Queens, we have New Jersey, then Peace Village, and because one of the things I learned from Baba was, and especially now, there are some places rent is very small, is okay, but some they paying so much rent for years, right? But then all that is not coming to you again. So I always help. Let's take Baba's place. So what I'm saying that when there are good relationships, spiritual relationship, you are able to hold a big thing. It's so interesting that we will be later on showing you UN office 38 years now. And when we began, we had $200. So I asked 8 students, can you all give $25? And we rented a very small desk, but address was very big, right? UN Plaza and was right in front of UN. Dadi Prakash Pani nearby. All Maharathis will come and sit near that desk in a big hall. There were another 7 non-governmental organizations. But we felt proud because internationally it cleared that it's a valid organization. Otherwise, spiritual organization, people always thought, there are so many different things and there's so many organizations, but start creating international image. So what Dadi Janki I learned from her, she always said, once we were talking and I asked her in London, I was in London, Dr. Nimla, Dadi Janki Jayanti Ben. So once we were talking, what is more important, service or relationships? She said, if there are good relationships, service will be done, but it will expand, and you all will be together able to sustain it, hold it. And I always remember that maybe little things happen there, but if I am donor of virtues and powers, so at Confluence-Aged, our relationships, our spiritual relationship, and we are all instruments. Each one is very valuable instrument of Baba. And if someone has some difficulty with their sanskars, then how with the time that soul is making effort to change And our love for that and good wishes can definitely bring transformation in that soul. So, from here now, what is happening? We are clearing our karmic accounts, creating a spiritual relationship with the practice of our eternal and original relationship. As souls, we are all brothers. In golden age, we were all in one deity family, and now we are at confluence age in this alaukic Brahmin godly family. This is godly family. Golden age will be divine family. So always remember that karmic accounts where there's good relationship and there could also be some conflict, some difficulties in relationship, and they get cleared. It is not like, in Lokik these days, for every little thing, they say, let's separate, let's divorce, right? That is so common. But I remember Dadi Gulzar, appreciating that how we have to live together, we have to be instruments together. And for that, I would say, uh, understanding of each other is important. Nimashanta Dadi taught me one lesson which I really liked it. It was in 72. Anyone goes to Nimashanta Dadi, she does this, she like that. Oh, Nimashanta Dadi say, but no, that she does this and this is what she is. So you don't have problem. Problem was when you didn't know. Hmm? That so and so is like that. Okay, I know now, no? So it should be easy. And I remember that point always that I know this soul has this sanskar. So not that I reject that soul, but wherever I need to adjust or support that soul, help that soul, mm, I should be doing that. And then you create good instruments, good companions, Baba's good children. So it's very, very interesting at Confluence Age, creating our eternal, that is, parlaukic relationships, and at Confluence Age, alaukic relationship. And also then in Lokik, they start respecting, they know that what we were before, what we are now. So loveful relationships, love is very important, no? Loveful relationship, respectful relationship, and try to understand because everyone has realization where I need to change. But my good wishes, my love, whichever power is needed, my support can help that soul to grow. And I remember Baba always says, when you are a good gardener, then you will bring to Baba good flowers. No? Understanding where there is no control, but also there is uh, interdependency, love for each other. Because sometimes when we control, we don't allow the specialities of that soul to grow, or there is not enough happiness, right? So inner contentment keeps us cheerful, makes us donor and keeps us cheerful. So understanding, respect, talk with respect with everyone. Words have a lot to do in relationship. I know Baba had been talking a lot about that. Even if you have to make a joke, you have to be aware of what kind of words you will be saying. And you might say, oh, I was just joking. So then at Confluence Age, because we are following all maryadas, no? Our thinking, mm, of course, is becoming very elevated, very pure. Our words are full of dignity and respect for everyone. And of course, our action are elevated actions. So it's my inner contentment that I can build relationship for years mm, with beautiful memories. Because I always tell everyone, today we are together, tomorrow we don't know. Let's live in such a way that whenever we think we were together, it brings happiness. Because nothing is permanent, right, in life. It can be long term, but not forever. So it's a very beautiful way to think that my inner contentment brings contentment in relationships. And talk little more about that, but basically relationships are meant, especially if we are, even if we are Baba's children and his students, but it's a task, right? It's an organization. So one thing is that complementary and cooperative. Let's say if someone knows something to do and I know something else to do. So we you do and I also do. So it's a complementary. And if someone is doing something for me to be cooperative, not just say no, it's your task, you do it. That creates a lot of good relationship. But then there shouldn't be comparison because two cannot be same, whether in thinking, whether in actions, whether in speed of the way we do things. Don't compare or compete. With whom should I compete? It's my family, right? You know, recently in one Murli Baba said, Brahma Baba always said, you first, giving respect and opportunity. You first. That soul will say, no, you do it. So, no comparison. This habit of comparing, they can't be same, right? This was Manor Dadi's lesson to me when I was very young. She said, everyone will have different efficiency. Everyone will have different nature. Nor compare with yourself, nor with uh, others from. So we have to always remember. And then there is no conflict also. Lot of respect. And then when we work together, you can see the result. Sometimes I say, whenever you know that we are six sisters and we are called regional coordinators, RCs. So whenever we went in front of Baba, Baba always gave very good blessings to us. Because one thing is that we are together for so many years. Even each one of us, we have different ideas, different personality, but we don't confront ever. Argument in the sense of reasoning, all that is all right, but never anger of any kind. So each one of us in our Brahmin life should feel proud to be creating a team and working together where there is no complaint for anyone. Look at everyone's specialty. So I must say that even in this Avyakti Parivar, we are able to sustain this program for 3.5 months because of lot of cooperation. lot of internally, not even knowing each other, but lot of love, spiritual love. So any project, any task can only be successful if you get cooperation. And that comes from when there is a honest heart, sincere feeling. So confluence age is the age where Baba teaches us to have spiritual relationship, where we have lot of love but no attachment. Sorrow comes when there is attachment. So we have to look into, and one day our heart should be able to say, I have all good wishes for everyone. And you should feel that you were able to support, you were able to care, you were able to donate, so that I can be cheerful and everyone around me also be cheerful. So that golden aged relationship, which I will talk tomorrow, from spiritual to divine relationships. And those divine relationships will be able to hold the yagya, unlimited yagya, where we are for each other. It's one family. So reflect on this about that inner contentment of the self makes us donor, keeps us cheerful, and also able to create very, very loving relationships for Baba's task. Om Shanti. Today we are going to show you United Nations office in Manhattan, and it was in 1980 that Didi Manmohini came, and we took her to meet someone at United Nations, the very high official. And then Didi said, "Oh, we should have something here." And before coming to USA, I had gone to many countries in Europe to attend conferences. I used to go from India, and so I used to meet a lot of people, and some of them were from UN. So everyone was saying, "Oh, you all do such a good work. You all should come and join UN." And we didn't know much. Myself, Sister Gayatri was with me, but I had many people's cards, and so we started calling them and trying to make contacts. But then in 1982, as I mentioned, we got this rented a little desk, but the address was so big. People might think that we have one whole floor, but it was a very tiny. In one hall, there were 8 NGOs, and in one corner was a nice corner. We were there, and as I said, Dadi Prakash Mani came, Nirvar Bhai came, then Jagdish Bhai, all because those days there were not many places, right? So all the seniors used to come. Nirmal Shanta Dadi came. Didi when came, we didn't have office. But all the senior brothers, not only once, Dadi Prakash Mani used to come every alternate year, if not every year. Dadi Janki came every year because she's the one who used to kind of boost you, with energy, Dadi Janki. So that is where, from that, then we moved on to another office. And the office which we moved in, still we have. But now this is Baba's place. When I say Baba's, that there was no choice. We had to get it, not rent it, but to mm, take it as Yagya property. Big challenge, but how Baba does, really honestly, for 38 years. See, UN office, there are no students, right? So It doesn't create any budget like centers. No? Every center has Baba's box. But UN is something which so few times I will go to Madhuban and then all seniors will say, I said, it's too much expense, it's few $1,000 rent per month. And but then they will say, okay, Yagya will do it, but we need to keep it. They will get very, very upset when I say, oh, no, I won't keep it. That is Baba's blessing that we were able to have it as Yagya property, and three sisters are there, Trimurti, and you will see how beautifully not only they decorated place, but doing a lot of service from there. And, I feel it is for whole Yagya internationally. After that, the image of the Yagya, image of BK organization was, oh, it's not only a religious organization, but we have another qualification, and that is that we are member of United Nations, non-governmental organization. So because of that, we thought if we have to keep it, we have to keep doing it. As I said, it helps so much. Otherwise, in the beginning, they are cult, they are this, they are this. But now, generally, they won't say that because the address and our affiliation, right? And lot is happening since we have this space. It's not a new space, but it's double. We had half of that before, now we have double, so that sisters can invite people, have meditation courses. So Sister Julia will share us what is going on at UN, and then we will show you that space. Om Shanti.
Shanti! Welcome to Vyakti Parivar! Today we are going to the United Nations in the United States of America. So, let me show you something exciting.
We may have come from many different countries and cultures. Within our hearts, I think we hold the same vision of a better world, of greater security, peace, justice, understanding, and respect for all people. Once we have seen in the eye of our mind that such a world can and should exist. Once we have seen in the eye of our mind, make it happen.
Make it happen! What an inspirational speech by our beloved Daddy Ji. Now, let's listen from our sisters. Then, we will tour Baba's office in the United Nations. Are you ready? Let's go!
Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to be with you all, hundreds of Baba's children. My name is Julia, and I'm one of Baba's representatives at the UN. And so we're going to show you a slideshow which tells you a little bit of the story. Sister Mohini mentioned some of it, but it's going to tell you very simply, a little story of the Brahma Kumaris at the UN. So if we could have the slideshow. Right, so here is our Daddy Prakashmani looking out in the UN, looking out over the UN. And she was really the main inspiration for having the Brahma Kumaris affiliated to the UN. And Gayatri was sharing a story with me. I wasn't here at that time, but how they were walking along First Avenue, because the UN is on First Avenue, and she was with Daddy Prakashmani looking across the street, and all the flags from all the different nations were blowing in the wind. And Daddy looked at the UN and said, this is a house of peace where all nations are working towards peace, and the Brahma Kumaris should be there. And so at the guidance of Daddy, Sister Gayatri then worked very diligently to see how the Brahma Kumaris could become affiliated to the UN. And so I think it was, I think that was in the late 1970s. And so our first affiliation was with the UN in about 1983, and it was through the Department of Public Information. And as a new NGO, as Sister Mohini was saying, the first thing we had was a very small desk at opposite the United Nations in a building where there were other NGOs called the Church Center. So that's the next slide, please. So you can see here, this is opposite the UN. This is the Church Center where Baba's first little desk was. Next. And then this is the entranceway into the office area. Next. Here, Church Center for the United Nations. And next. Here, I was with Gayatri. It happened to be, I think it was last year. And Gayatri showed me the place where Baba's first desk was. So I'm sure Sister Mohini is watching this and she may remember it. Of course, it's a different desk because different people are there. But this is the first space where Baba had this little desk, and all of our Maharatis used to go and visit and sit in that desk and give vibrations. So at this time, our work has expanded, of course, and so we needed a larger space. And so then we moved to a different building, which is, again, opposite the UN, but towards the end of the gardens of the UN, so we can still look out over the UN. And so we started off with that little desk, then we moved to a space, an office with one room, then we moved to an office space with 2 rooms, then we moved a little bit bigger and we had windows. And so next picture, please. So this now is the office space where we had two rooms. Next, please. This was the reception area. You can see the reception areas through here, and there's the doorway into, next slide, please. Into, next slide, please. And this was the working space. This is what we used to have. When Sister Mohini was explaining, we had half an office, so this was the half. And next slide, please. So as we started to expand, remember we started in the 1980s, and so then some of the things that we did were these large international projects, and many of you who have been with the Brahma Kumaris for many years will remember some of these projects. There was the Million Minutes of Peace appeal. Next slide, please. And here it is, Daddy Prakashmani and Sister Mohini there at the UN. The next slide, please. And here is Daddy accepting one of the 7 Peace Messenger Awards that the Brahma Kumaris were awarded with. And this was the then Secretary General Perez de Cuellar, and I think his wife, accepting the Peace Award. Next, please. And then from the Million Minutes of Peace, we had the Global Cooperation for a Better World. This was another large international project that the BKs did, and you can see the different children and different people did different activities of what was our vision for a better world. Next slide, please. And also at the headquarters then in Mount Abu, they also had an international conference, a big conference, and you can see Rajiv Gandhi then, and also the Undersecretary General of the UN, Robert Muller as well, lighting the candles with Daddy Janki. Next slide, please. And from that came the Visions of a Better World book, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, which have all the visions from people all over the world. Next slide, please. And from there, our next international project was Living Values for a Better, Living Values. This was an educational initiative, again, that came out of the UN office. Next slide, please. And then another international project we did was this international movement for the culture of peace and nonviolence, where we all signed these manifestos of what we were going to do. Next slide, please. And then from there, we started, that was the 1980s, now we're going into the 1990s, and then the UN was starting to focus on world conferences. So the Brahma Kumaris with their delegations went to these UN conferences. You can see here's Daddy Janki actually in New York. And now this is the General Assembly. I'm sure many of you have seen heads of state standing at this podium and addressing the other heads of state. Well, here Daddy is, this is actually a religious conference on peace. All the different religious leaders are in front of Daddy and Daddy is addressing them. And that speech you heard earlier, this was what Daddy said when she was addressing the people. So next slide, please. And then we also went to different conferences. This was one on habitat. And here Daddy Janki is doing an oral statement. Again, all the governments of the world are listening to Daddy speaking there. Next slide, please. Okay, so after the 1990s, when we went to different world conferences all over the world, then the UN started to focus on different areas, different issues. And in 2015, they came up with these global goals. These are called the Sustainable Development Goals. You can see there's 17 of them. There's women, education, we're addressing hunger, we're looking at climate change. And so, of course, the Brahma Kumaris are also working towards this from a spiritual perspective, but in many of these different areas, the Brahma Kumaris are working. Next slide, please. So you can see we work with youth. This was a youth project called Spotlight Values. I'm sure that some of the youth among you will remember. Next slide, please. And then again, working with youth this year, just bringing you right up to date here, the BKs, youth BKs from all over the world did a wonderful program on yogis linking living lights from 75 countries and more. They offered these different meditations over 24 hours, really basically expressing the specialities of the practice of meditation in their life. Next slide, please. And then here again, you can see youth. This was a youth essay competition that we were at the UN doing. Next slide, please. And of course, we celebrate the International Day of Peace. And I think this was the International Day of Peace. And this is Gayatri writing Om Shanti, I am peace. This is outside the main entrance of the UN in the courtyard. Next slide, please. And we also attend all the climate change conferences around the world every year. And Sister Genti who's our main representative in Geneva. She's the one who heads up all the environmental conferences we go to. And here she is addressing a plenary workshop in one of the conferences. Next slide, please. And we also focus on women. And so this is on the empowerment of women. And you can see the BK delegation there. So it's a 2-week conference, happens annually. And every year we do workshops and write papers and things. Next slide, please. And then, of course, here we work with different agencies. This is an example of working with UNFPA, which is Population Fund. And you can see Sister Mohini is one of the speakers here. Next slide, please. And here's Gayatri. And actually, this is in 2014, many of you may be aware that the Indian government proposed to the UN to have a resolution that would create an International Day of Yoga. And I'm sure many of you celebrate it in your centers. It's on the 21st of June. And so the Brahma Kumaris, of course, support this. And we're actually the co-chairs of the an NGO committee for the International Day of Yoga. And so here is Gayatri as vice chair of this committee, and she's addressing some participants. And this is actually in the church center. It's in the chapel of the church center where Baba had his first desk. Next slide, please. And here again, you can see this again is the International Day of Peace. And of course, Shivani is with us, and we had a big program in New York. Next slide, please. And here again, we also contribute to an online magazine every year with different articles. And this is this year's magazine. Next slide, please. And we also focus on social development. You can see the delegation here and our young sister Nidhi, who was doing an oral statement to the delegates here in one of the conference rooms. Next slide, please. And here they are again in a DPI conference, again on social development. Next slide, please. And we also do celebrate. So for the 60th anniversary of the UN, the Brahma Kumaris were one of 4 organizations who organized this big program. And you can see we had balloons because it was actually celebrating the birthday of the UN. And it was a wonderful event, a whole, a day-long event where we had many different activities. And we actually filled this conference room with balloons. Next slide, please. And so, as you can see, we expanded work. And so, as Sister Mohini said, it came to a time when we needed to expand, have more space. And also we need, it was decided that the Yagya would then purchase this space. Up until then, we had been renting. And so, next slide, please. This is the additional half next door to what we had space. You can see this is before we started creating it. Next slide, please. Here you can see, next slide. And here again, next slide. Okay, so then you can see that just what you saw has been ripped out, and you can see half the old part of the office and then the new. And this is when construction took place. This was in 2016. Next slide, please. You can see here, see the 2 spaces. Next slide. And now this is our final slide before you see the new space. And we thought it would be nice to show you. This is the BK reps. You can see Sabita, you can see Gayatri, you can see myself, and Judy's there also with all our friends. And we're looking at the spiritual transformation of the global goals. And we're all holding global goals. And so that's the end of this presentation. And now we're going to go and see Baba's new space. Thank you.
Well, congratulations. We want to see Sister Gayatri, Sister Sabita. Hello. You want to say anything, Gayatri man? Unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, I mean, I was, as you were talking, Sister Mohini, that even before we got affiliated to the UN, you were going to Europe. And I remember this one guy in particular that you had met in Europe, Dr. Homajak. And Dr. Homajak just, I don't know what he saw that really made him so like believed in you. And so much, I think, of our achievements at the UN had a lot to do with his guidance. And he was one of those American Midwestern people who exactly knew how the UN ran, and he knew exactly why the UN would need someone like us there. So Daddy Kumarka, of course, sowed the first seed of service at the UN, and she was one who always wanted to know what we did at the UN, and every year we had to give her a report on it. But I think also you being our main representative with meeting Dr. Homajak became an important seed for the growth of the UN. When I looked at what was presented, I say, you know, that's like the image of our story at the UN. But maybe one day later on, we would share those stories that nobody knows about. The stories, the real thing then of being at the UN and all the challenges we experienced, but also all the deep learning that we had, and like taking people to Madhuban and putting them in front of Baba, and Baba speaking to them, and then coming back to the UN and saying to a whole group of people here at the UN, you know, I met the Brahma Kumaris God. And so we used to, and still we do, create these very deep friendship with people from all over the world. And for me, one of the blessings I've had as a BK is really to serve on land that is international land, which is the UN. It stands on international territory. It is not the USA. It is, that land belongs to the United Nations and was given by the Rockefellers. And it has its own police force. It is not the New York police force there. But also it is a place where the whole world comes together, and all countries, 95, 90 something countries come together and talk. And that is what makes the United Nations so special. And for Baba to be there really makes Baba's knowledge universal. So thank you for featuring the UN in such a beautiful way. Om Shanti.
Yes, Julia, hello.
Yes, Sister Mohini.
It was beautiful. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Yes, I know. Were you surprised to see that the place where Baba's first desk was?
Yes. All the best. And now
Sabita should be here. So I don't know if she was there. Yes. She is. There she is.
Sister Sabita, congratulations. Very good instrument at UN. Yeah. You have to unmute.
Yes, I did. Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's also a learning ground for me.
It's a Tirumurti sisters, so doing very well.
Thank you.
Okay.
It was done beautifully.
Yes, good night. Om Shanti.
Good night. Om Shanti.
Okay, let's remember Baba.
सामने होना हो मेरे दिल के बाबा पास हो मेरे संग संग
We all are very, very happy. Happiness is important. And I see many, many of you, you are alone at home, but you are happy and with Baba. So, Om Shanti and good night, everyone. Good night.